Hi everyone, it's Brandy with Intuitive Energy Healing, and I'm here to evolve your reality and shift your energy. So today I want to talk about a little bit about myself and my story. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who is so supportive of what I do, and he watches all my videos, and we've been friends forever, like since we were like 15 years old. And he was telling me how I should really talk about my story and all that I've been through so that people can relate to what I'm saying and know that I'm coming from a place of compassion as well as overcoming my own struggles in life. So today I want to talk about my personal dark night of the soul. I know I've touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to go more into detail. I know that there's a lot of new people to my pages and may not know the backstory of who I am and what I do. So it all started in 2016 when me and my cousin were at the Minnesota State Fair. And I am somebody who I've always had food sensitivities. Since I was a kid, I've had stomach issues, food sensitivities, allergic to like dairy and wheat, but not allergic, just reactions like skin breakouts, stuff like that. And we were at the Minnesota State Fair, and we got tickets to a concert that night. And while at the concert, I started clearing my throat and coughing a lot. And my cousin asked me if I was okay, and I said I was. And it continued on. And I'm sure it was super annoying since she was trying to, watch the concert. And she asked me again, and I could tell I wasn't okay. Like, I could tell my throat was starting to get tight. And it was weird because I hadn't ate or drank anything for probably over an hour. But I felt the need to find some Benadryl. So we went to go find some Benadryl, and we found a first aid, and they had to take me to where the first aid was. And I told my cousin to stay and enjoy the concert, and that I would just go and not to move or leave because her phone was dead and my phone was almost dead. And so I followed them, and they took me to the ambulance. And they did not have regular Benadryl, just like IV Benadryl. So they went to give me IV Benadryl. And when they did that, I cannot describe it as any other way than this, but it felt like fire was shooting through my blood. It felt like my veins were on fire. And I instantly shot up, and I was like, guys, something's wrong. And that's all I could get out, and my throat closed. And one of the paramedics, who was remaining extremely calm, was preparing a syringe, and he explained to me that it was an epi and that he was going to then give it to me, which he did. And when he did, everything kind of went black, and my chest tightened, and I couldn't breathe, and they ambulanced me to one of the nearest hospitals, and they took me out of the fair. And my cousin was still there, had no idea that I had went, and they had ambulanced me out. And for several hours I was at the hospital, and they were trying to get my body under control. They were trying to get my body to calm and to respond to the medication that they were giving to me. And my throat just continued to feel tight for several hours. And they were going to let my cousin come pick me up, but it was like 4 a.m, and I think she had to get up at 6. So the only other option that they gave me, because my phone was dead and I couldn't call anyone, was that I could take a cab home. And unfortunately, I had just moved, and so I didn't know my address, but this didn't dawn on me until I got into the cab. So instead, I just had the cab take me to where my car was at the state fair. Thankfully, I remembered where it was parked. And then I drove home, which I do not remember the drive home. I'm sure my body was like still massively full of drugs and everything that they had given me. And I was probably at the hospital for 10 or 12 hours at this point. I don't even remember. And I drove home, and I slept for quite a while, like probably 10 hours. And that was the beginning of what turned into major reactions throughout the next 3 years. For about 2 years straight, I went to the hospital pretty regularly, almost daily. I would go to the ER. It was probably 2 to 3 times a week. I was pretty much terrified to eat. I was reacting to everything. Um, the like soaps, toothpaste, body wash, everything. I had to change everything in my life. I had to get really in tune with myself, really like ask myself, what did I do different today? Like, what was different today? And I had to like cut a lot of things out of my life, and I was down to about 4 foods that I could eat. And I had lost about 90 pounds, and my family thought I was going to die. My friends thought I was going to die. Nobody really talked about it. I was convinced I was going to die. There wasn't a day that I thought this that I didn't think this is the day I'm going to die. I was terrified every night that I went to sleep. Doctors couldn't figure it out. In fact, a lot of doctors were telling me I was having panic attacks. I was like, this is not panic attacks. You know, and then I finally found a doctor who specialized with like stomach issues and mast cell. And she's the one that told me that it can be triggered by mold, which ironically enough, I was staying with a friend when all of this happened, and I was living there for about 2 weeks. And I was staying down in their finished basement, but their basement was very musty. And so even though I don't know, because we moved like during that process, we moved into a different house, that I never knew if it was like black mold or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure that that is what it was triggered from. It was like someone switched a light on and then we couldn't turn it off. So that was kind of like the journey of like a 3-year process. It was very long. It was very scary. Like I said, I literally thought I was going to die. I looked like I was going to die. And it was a huge mind fuck. I mean, I lost so many friends during that time. I lost so many people. I was so resistant to so many things. And it got to a point where I just like couldn't handle it anymore. And I had a major breakdown in my living room, actually behind me. And it was kind of like a movie scene. It was pretty dramatic. I like fell to my knees and was bawling uncontrollably and begged God to show up in my life. And I basically said, you have 2 weeks to show up or I'm ending my life because I cannot live in this fear. I cannot do this. And I was actually so convinced that I was going to commit suicide. I started planning everything. I started arranging my house for it. I mean, it was like, you want to talk about crazy. Like, it was probably the craziest I've ever felt in my entire life. I went and made a will, like everything. It was just mind-blowing. So the reason I'm also telling this story is not only because my friend brought this up, but because during my last video, I talked about the starseed DNA. And one of my followers commented that I'm Arcturian. So I looked into that. And it was crazy how many things resonated with me with the Arcturian. I still do feel that there is some Draco going on. Like, I don't know if it's a hybrid situation or what it is exactly. But I do want to share this story that I've never shared with pretty much anyone, because I did tell my aunt about it at the time, who was helping me with finding doctors. And she thought I was hallucinating. But there was a night where it was probably around the time that I had the breakdown. I think it was right after I had the breakdown. I don't think it was the night of, but it was within that 2-week span that I woke up, and I know that I was awake, but I couldn't move my body, and I saw my soul laying out in midair to the right of my bed. Like, I could see it. And there was 3 light beings standing there, and they were working on me, and they were working on like what would be the chest area of my soul, and they were taking something out. Like, I remember I was kind of like freaking out that they were taking that from me. And I remember very distinctly that it was all telepathy. Like, I remember thinking things like and they were thinking things, and I could hear them. And we were communicating, and I was telling them not to take that from me, and they were telling me that it was okay, that they were going to make it better, and that I could turn and go back to sleep. And when they told me this, I instantly got calm because I was absolutely terrified. Like, obviously, like I was absolutely terrified before they told me this. And then once they told me this, I got super calm, and it was almost like I remembered them. And then I rolled over and went back to sleep. And I told my aunt about this, like, I think it was the next day, because I literally thought I was going crazy at this point. Like I said, I felt crazy. I wanted to commit suicide. And it was that week, that Friday, that I found both of my doctors. And it was really crazy how they came to me. My aunt found one of them, who was a cancer doctor. And she was a huge help and actually knew a little bit about mast cell. And the other was a chiropractor who had mast cell patients. And both were extremely beneficial to my healing, and both came to me the same week. And I do feel like it was a huge turnaround in my dark night of the soul. It was like I had to give in resistance, because I was very resistant to going to any cancer doctor who was going to put me on any type of like chemotherapy or radiation or anything like that, and that all just really scared me and did not resonate with me. But she was very open to, I ended up doing Rife treatment, and she was very open to what I wanted to do and hearing me out and helping me along the way. And after I got the diagnosis of mast cell, I got a diagnosis of mast cell disease, which, as I mentioned in a previous post, I don't like to use the D word. I like to use the word situation, because situations can change. And my situation has massively changed since throwing myself into shadow work through the past several years. So during this really dark time, not only did I find my doctors, but I started going to therapy. And I did EMDR several years prior to this for some childhood sexual abuse. And I decided that maybe I should go back and do it for fear and worthiness and the trauma that I experienced by all the doctors and the ER visits. Like, it became very traumatic for me, and I wanted to heal that trauma. And I also did something called family constellation therapy, where you heal your bloodline, you heal the trauma passed down through DNA that might not be yours. And it was just like a huge shift in my energy for me. And it wasn't overnight. It was over like probably a year and a half span that I did all of this. And I just really threw myself into reading books and anything that I could find that was of healing modality. I started seeing an energy healer who, like, the first time I went to him, the experience was crazy. It was almost like my body had a seizure. And since seeing him, I see him very regularly. Usually every 2 to 4 weeks I will see him, and it has been a huge shift. I've had so many visions. I had a vision which then led to these tattoos. I don't know if you can see them, but I'll have to tell that story on another time, because that was crazy. And I think one crazy story per video is probably good. But I just wanted to share a little bit about my story and how going through all of this and doing my shadow work, which then led me to writing my own shadow work workbook, which I put out like this past winter, has just really changed my life in the healing process. I have since gained back about 45 pounds. I feel healthy. I can eat over 20 to 30 foods at this point, where I was down to only being able to eat 4. I can wear lotion again. I can wear perfume again. I couldn't do any of that for about 2.5, 3 years. I mean, it was just very life-changing. It was a total healing process for me. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what I've been through and what I've done. I'm now offering shadow work coaching. So if that is something that you're interested in or want more information about, please reach out to me. You can find me at my website, which is iehealingmn.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd be very happy to help help you. All right? Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend.